Before I get destroyed in the comments, wanted to make sure you don't even think about it. I feel like I'm gonna get roasted for this one, and let me tell you a little secret. It's gonna get spicy. And that's really what your first UX design job is all about. For anyone who's new here, my name is Mimi and I share stories about being a UX designer along with experiences about my career change into UX design. In this video, I'm going to talk about things that I wish I stopped wasting my time on while I was learning UX at a bootcamp. But this could actually apply to anyone who's learning UX, whether that's self-taught or even at a university. And wait, before we get started, let me give a quick disclaimer. Everything I'm about to say in this video is all based off of my own personal experience. And if you stick around long enough, it's gonna get controversial. And if you know me and you follow my channel, you know that I could get pretty honest, especially when the tea starts to get real hot. So per usual,
don't come at me, bro.
The first thing is to stop trying to do everything. This one makes me so sad because I see it all the time. I see UX design students right now in bootcamp sharing so much, like Dribble invite codes and Adobe XD tutorials, Figma conferences. You 100% do not need to be doing all of these things right at this very second. Of course, you're gonna wanna understand your basics, like whatever your preferred prototyping or design tool is, but you don't have to stress over it. Just understand the basics, especially because other advanced learning opportunities will come naturally. And let me tell you a little secret. I didn't even know how to use Figma at my first UX design job. But hey, I was hired and I learned it, and I honestly think it's way more advantageous to learn new tools with real design work alongside more experienced designers who are willing to show you and teach you their tricks. So my biggest takeaway here is I just wish I took a step back sometimes and didn't get so caught up in the whirlwind of all this knowledge sharing, which can be great, but it can also be really overwhelming and you could feel pressure to do all these things when what's really important is just understanding the UX process itself and applying that over and over and finding real work for you to do that. And that will really help you get your first UX design job. Okay, the next one I feel like is gonna get spicy, but it's to stop attending meetups. Look, I see a lot of students going to these today and being really successful in meeting new people and learning new things. And myself personally, I've gone to a few of them and I've learned some things that I never even knew existed, and it's been really fun. But while I was in a UX bootcamp and I went to these, did I find my UX Prince Charming that swept me off my feet and handed me a job interview? No, not really. And I'll tell you why. Because most of the time, I was either going to the wrong events and I was talking to the wrong people. I feel like I'm gonna get roasted for this one, so I will just say it could vary based on location. I live in San Diego and it's not really considered like a booming tech space compared to somewhere like New York or San Francisco. And when you go to conferences that are based in those bigger tech areas, you find like a good spectrum of different types of designers with different levels of skill set. But for me in the smaller city, it's usually only filled with designers that already have experience. And if there are designers at these meetups that have 0 years of experience, typically what I see is that they're talking to one another. What does that really get you? It's kind of like the blind leading the blind. And I'm fully aware. In past videos, I've mentioned going to meetups or maybe even hackathons, and they're great if they're meant to be like a mentoring type network or if they're geared towards designers that don't have much experience. I wish I did my due diligence and looked at events and really research and understand whether or not they fit my needs and my level of skill at that time. And if you need to drive like 1 to 2 hours to your nearest big city to go to one of these meetups, then please do that, because I did not have that luxury back in 2018, but now we're in this remote working world and you're just not limited to the city that you live in anymore. All right, the next one is super important and I found myself doing it all the time, and that is to stop comparing your portfolio to others. I wish I stopped looking at so many portfolios because it just fed into my insecurities and it led me down this rabbit hole of decisions that I felt like I had to make, and it was just wasting time for me to get out there and start applying to jobs. I wish I reminded myself, like, why am I here learning UX in the first place? It's not to become a graphic designer or an animations designer or a developer. It's to become a UX designer who's able to clearly state the problem at hand and how you got to the solution in a clear and concise way. UX mature companies will be able to see whether or not you're good at telling a good story, and the hiring managers, at least the good ones, will be able to see past all the fluff and all the bull. When I've been a part of the hiring process, I've seen a lot of portfolios that are just like fluffed up way too much. And it makes us question, like, what's behind all of this? Is this just really smoke and mirrors? And it really just serves as a distraction from us understanding whether or not the designer understands the UX process. Another important note to this, I highly suggest you start your first UX design job at a company that actually understands UX, because trust me, there are a lot out there that don't. And I definitely don't want your portfolio to attract those types of organizations that don't understand UX. The ones that only care about like GIFs and animations and fancy fonts, because then they won't be able to help you learn and develop your UX skills. And that's really what your first UX design job is all about. And don't worry, you can always add these fun, quirky things to your portfolio later in your career once you figure out like what part of design you really like the most and like what you really want to showcase on your portfolio. But I'm just telling you right now, at this very second, when you're learning UX, you don't need all of that stuff. Trust me, you will have time later. But I do want you to look at portfolios, especially in the beginning if you've never seen one before. So I would say restrict yourself to maybe 4 to 5 for inspiration, and never go out seeking for more, and never ever copy. But you already know this, we all know this. I just wanted to make sure you don't even think about it. I just wish I didn't look at tens, hundreds of other designers' portfolios to a point where I was filling up my bookmark folder to a point of no return. So main takeaway here is be yourself. As someone who's hired UX design interns before, I don't want to see a portfolio that's a mashup of all these designers that I've seen out there. I want to see you, and I want to see you showing me that you understand the UX process. The next one is to stop reading so much. Okay, I love books. Before I get destroyed in the comments, I love books. And they have taught me so much about UX design, especially my current one true love, Articulating Design Decisions. I'll link it in my description. And they have taught me so much about UX design. But I wish when I was first learning UX, I dialed the reading down a bit, because Bootcamp, surprisingly enough, they do include a lot of reading materials. Looking back at the end of the day, I wish I spent more of my time doing design rather than reading about it. And sure, again, I'm not saying reading's bad, just during that time, it didn't really help push me closer to that goal of finding my first UX design job. But I really wish time was more spent on looking for real projects, so I had more to show during my job interview rather than to tell. I hope you're able to tolerate my tough love. It's only tough because I have to see you succeed and not make the same mistakes that I did. If you want more tea spilling, watch this video next. I'm feeling conservative. I'm feeling shy, so I'm gonna button this up. Oh my God, we're almost there, you guys. Career. Wait, what? So, peace. Okay, are we still recording? Oh,